Hello, everyone. Welcome into another episode. It's the Game Within the Game podcast, capturing the game. It's another episode here for you today. So today we have a special guest, Madison Prillwitz, and she's so lovely. We thankful for her time just to be able to share this podcast with us today. So, Madison, can you tell us a little bit about who you are so that the audience can get to know who you are?
Yeah, so my name is Madison. I am originally from the great state of Michigan. Born and raised there in a very, very, very small town, but I'll plug it. Buchanan, Michigan, great city, nicest place in America. And that's you can look that up. And I went to college at IU South Bend, so I was in South Bend for a while. Worked at Notre Dame, the University of Notre Dame, for a little bit as well. And then I have been in Indianapolis for 2 years now, working with Indy 11 professional soccer. So it's been great. And I currently serve as the coordinator of corporate partnerships for Indy 11. Yeah, so that's kind of a brief rundown of my career, my life.
It's awesome. So, you said you went to Notre Dame. So, what did you what did you study there, and like what types of things did you do while you were there?
So I went to IU South Bend. I studied at Indiana University of South Bend, and then I was working at the University of Notre Dame.
Okay.
Uh, as after I graduated, I worked there a little bit part time when I was in college, but once I graduated, I started working there in events. So my career started out in just events. I wanted to do events, plan events, coordinate events, everything. So I worked there as an event specialist at the stadium. In that role, I think I was in that role for like 9 or 10 months. And then that's when I decided that I wanted to go into sports. So um, I ended up moving here in 2019. So
When you started working at Notre Dame, is that when you finally decided like, okay, I want to stay around events and I want to jump into sports, and so that's kind of how you started. Did you have like any other um like careers that you was interested in that you wanted to go into?
yeah, so I was always interested in sports. I've been an athlete my entire life throughout high school, childhood, and everything. So I'm a basketball girl. I played soccer when my
Okay.
ankles I played soccer when my ankles could handle it, but that was like ended at like sixth grade. So
Yeah.
but basketball and volleyball has been my thing. And back in high school, it was about my junior or senior year, I can't remember. Um, could have been even before that. But in high school, my oldest brother, he's kind of like my rock, my person. He worked for the Pacers here in Indy. So that was when I was like, okay, he like took me to his job one day and like showed me all the ropes and like took me down to the court and stuff. And I was like, ooh, I want to do this and I want to be an Indy. And so I kind of knew that I wanted to do something similar, be in sports. But I always loved events. So I had no idea, like what I could even do in terms of that. And then I was, I didn't want to make that jump right away to indie. So I started working in events. I did internships throughout college, then started working part time, then went solely in events at University of Notre Dame. Um, and that's when I was like, once I got that full time job is almost like like a learning experience for college graduates. So it's like, okay, you graduate college, then you go into the real world, and it's like, okay, now you know what you like, what you don't like. You're getting to know those things, and that's kind of what I did. And I knew I loved events and wanted to stay in events, but I also knew that I wanted to go more on the sport time end of things. So I saw the position open up for Indy 11, and I was like, well, it's sports. It's soccer. I do enjoy soccer. Didn't know much about professional soccer, but it's sports and it's indie, and the position that I'm in does have events like aspects and activation and things like that. So it's kind of a great like tie-in to what I was thinking I wanted, but I wasn't sure. And then this opportunity came about, and I just couldn't turn that down.
Yeah, with that, what moment, like a defining moment in your life, did you realize that like this is where you were meant to be, this is what you were supposed to be doing within sports?
Um, I want to say so with my current role, the first year towards the end of the season was when I was getting in the groove. Like the first few months, it was a huge learning experience, and I was like trying to still figure out what that role even was. Um, and then once it came to the end of the year, I was like, okay, I'm ready for next season. Like this is what I'm good at this. Like I'm great making things happen. Cool. Kind of added my own type of style to what I'm doing. And our department is actually really small. So it's myself, our manager, and then our director for sponsorships. And so it's also great to have a small team like that where you can voice your ideas and kind of implement new ways and processes and stuff. So I started to do that. And then bam, COVID hit, and it was like the whole world changed. And so we were like, all right, well, we're not going to dive into next season, but but I think that that point right there was when I was like, okay, like I'm definitely going to stay in sports. I like this. Can do this for a while. But then looking at, like what are my next steps? So, I have this position here, and where do I see myself in 5 to 10 years and into 15 years from now? So that's kind of when I started thinking like, okay, I'm good at this. I like this. Where can this take me? And how can I keep growing with Indy 11, myself personally, things like that. So I think that's probably where I found that realization. So.
Yeah, I understand. Like for me, I've done some events. Like I helped plan a conference for the National Society of Black Engineers. I've done a couple here and there. So just the thought process of event planning is stressful, and at least in my opinion, it tends to be
It's a
stressful.
lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's
And I don't have too many like like per se events. It's more of like prepping for the games and stuff now,
yeah.
and working with sponsors and clients and things like that on their activation elements. So it's not too heavy on events, but it's just enough right now. And I'm sure once the world gets a little bit back to normal, we'll be doing more and posting more things for corporate partnerships to be able to get that event fix that I have too. So I yeah. So the event world back in Notre Dame, it was a lot of events.
Yeah.
It was so much fun, and it was such a learning experience. And without that position, without that job, and the teammates that I had, I would not be here with Indy 11 and enjoying it so much too. So um, yeah.
I understand that. What are some of the challenges in like getting in corporate sponsorship right now with your position?
What are the challenges with like my position right now?
Yeah.
Bounce, I would say, and I think I could probably speak for many people in my position or in the sponsorship department for any teams, but it's getting a little better right now. But just bouncing back from COVID
Hmm.
and the effects that that had on games and on activating elements and getting brands out there, because the biggest thing is game day, right? Like in stadium signage, and you've got
Hmm.
players being integrated in these different creative campaigns and stuff. And once the pandemic hit, it was all right. Well, we have to rethink everything. We can't just put a player and take them to this place to do this video around all of these other people. And for a while we didn't have games, so we started our season five months late, I think it was. So it's really just navigating all the different ways, and we learned a lot from the effects of the pandemic, which is still ongoing. But we definitely learned a lot last year, going through all of that and moving forward, and what brands and what companies might want to kind of turn to. So instead of doing things in stadium, Some people want to do more social media and digital media now. So I think that's not so much of a challenge, but more of just kind of navigating and adapting to the new ways that things are kind of changing to, with sponsors and corporate partners wanting to do things. And some corporate partners might be hesitant to do things, or hesitant to even do anything, just because of what had happened last year. Um, but with things kind of going back to a little bit more normal, I think the pain has been alleviated a little bit, and being able to have conversations and being transparent with corporate partners. It's been working in our favor, and so both of our favors. So I think that was probably the biggest challenge, if you would say.
Yeah. So with you working at Notre Dame and then working now at Indy 11, what are some of the differences that you've seen that maybe Notre Dame prepared you for working at Indy 11, or what are some things that you wish you would have done or learned while at Notre Dame to prepare you for what you're doing now?
Yeah. So the biggest difference. So at Notre Dame, when I first started out, I mean that was my first job. So um, very, very organized, very structured, very processed. Tradition is the theme at Notre Dame, and it works. It definitely works for the campus. It's a huge and wonderful campus. So when I was on doing events, we had a process for a process for a process for a process. So it was very process heavy, and it worked, and it was great. And I was like, okay, like sometimes I want to, like, do my own thing or whatever. And you always want what you can't have. And so then I went to Indy 11, and like I said, we're a small team. We're a very small team. So it doesn't necessarily need a process for a process for a process, but not having certain processes, being at the University of Notre Dame, working there, seeing how they kind of structure things, that helped me bring that to Notre Dame, or to Indy 11. So coming to the sponsorship department, kind of seeing the different things that might need a little bit of help, the areas that need a little bit of help, touch points with clients, communication with clients. So those processes that I liked but didn't like at the same time at Notre Dame, it helped me here at Indy 11, and try to work through things and kind of connect departments with the sponsorship department as well. So that's a big thing for me.
Oh, that's tremendous. One of the things that you mentioned that you do on a one of the things that you mentioned that you do on a regular now is preparing for the games, preparing for game days. What's some of your routines that you go through for those days?
Well, you'll see, like, well, you guys probably don't know, but I just got like a really great tan from our game yesterday. So we actually just had a game. We won yesterday 2-0 or two
Saw
zero.
that.
So it's been great. But the setup process, we actually just moved our stadium from, so we used to play at Lucas Oil where the Colts play. And then with the pandemic, the biggest part in moving, we moved stadiums, was because all of the events that Lucas Oil had planned for 2020 are now being rescheduled, obviously, for 2021, and that conflicts with our schedule. So we had to move to IUPUI, their campus, the Michael Carroll Stadium here in Indy. And
Okay.
so that is not, I'm sure you guys aren't familiar with it, but those two stadiums are day and night. Like, it is, so Lucas Oil, everything is right there for you. You're pretty much done. Not much of a setup. Uh, at Carroll, you gotta do everything. It's manual labor, and I mean, my boss will probably vouch when I say this, but like, I was complaining about my nails the whole time, and I'm just like, I'm not. Now I found my weakness is like the
Yeah.
labor. But so like with our game days now, and this is the first time in my 2 years here having to work at Carroll Stadium and set up and stuff like that for our game days. So that consists of the day before going there and preparing, so we don't have to
Yeah.
be there literally from the morning to the night on that Saturday or whenever we're playing on game day. Day before going, setting up suites, setting up like in stadium signage that we can. And then once on game day, say we have a 7 o'clock game, we're there at 2, 3 o'clock, and some other departments are there at noon, 11 o'clock, the operations department, and then we're there until about 10, 11 o'clock at night, tearing down. So it's a lot. There's a lot that goes into setting up for game day physically. But my job specifically before that to prep for game days is, broadcast. So I work a lot with our in-stadium or our live TV broadcast, as well as our English radio and Spanish radio broadcast, to make sure we get all of our partners in every break, if they have those elements. And then in-stadium signage, making sure if we've got new partners coming on, that's included for the next game, video board signage, digital signage, anything like that, PA reads. If we've got partners that have PA reads, getting those in, and along with a lot of other things, and I can go on and bore you guys to death. But that's kind of the gist of the setup. There's a lot that goes into it in the front office.
No, that's a cool. And I went to set up this thing. So with having to set up and moving stadiums now and having to do all the manual labor, so how closely are you able to work with any of the players and things like that?
Yeah. So but pre-COVID, my job was a lot of not necessarily on game day working with the players. They're kind of doing their own thing and prepping for the game. But in terms of activation and fulfillment for my role, like any partners that have player appearances or player interviews, or we need content from players, so we'll have them go to like this restaurant and record content with the owner of the restaurant or something like that. I would help coordinate that. So I did that actually quite a bit pre-COVID, and things got a little bit better with COVID, but players are still in a bubble. Still, we've got the USL health and safety guidelines that we all have to follow. So it's pretty cracked down right now. So not so much this year or in last year, but the year before, a lot of it. And I'm sure coming soon, once hopefully everything kind of alleviates from COVID, coming soon, probably work with them quite a bit, along with our community relations department and marketing department. It's really fun too, because it's fun to see, like, so our players are from all over the world. Like we've got players from, I can't even remember how many different countries it was, but some players speak English, some players don't, but it's always great to kind of talk to them and learn things about them, and kind of make them feel comfortable as well in the position that they are, or just like, oh, we need you to, record this, and we need you to talk about this. But the really interesting part about things like that is when we are choosing players to do certain activations or anything like that, with player media or interviews or something like that, we often choose the players that can connect the best to it as well. So our community relations department will do a great job of kind of, not for lack of a better term, surveying the players beforehand and seeing what players are interested in, what nonprofits or what they connect to. So when opportunities come with corporate partners, we know like which players would be interested in doing something and can connect to that something too. So so that's always fun too.
Has there been any athletes like stories that you loved or you heard that you feel as though that should be like more people should find out more about this particular person and their story?
So yes and no. So
Okay.
there was so just recently we've got an all like brand new team, basically. Like our team completely changed from last year. I can't even tell you how many players stayed. Probably like a handful of players stayed from last year, but all of them is all new teammates. But there's one in particular, we just did a special on them, and I saw it. I had no idea it was coming, but I saw it on Twitter, and I will butcher his name, so don't feel bad about butchering my last name. But you can check it out on our Twitter. and he's got dual citizenship. And I won't tell his story. I'll let you guys kind of go and see that. You got to go on Indy 11 and check out his story. But he's got dual citizenship. He's young. He's my age, and he has just been through so much. And he's still going strong, and he's playing so tough, and he's a great player from what I've seen so far, and everybody vouches for him and loves him, and so. That's one that I just recently saw and appreciated so much. But other than that, I think all of our players have been great. There's so many different personalities, which is great to kind of see and learn from and stuff like that. But that one was the main one.
This is just my perspective, but I imagine that it'd be rather difficult to obtain like corporate sponsorships for professional soccer team at Indy, but and especially because the fact that soccer is not the biggest sports in America, and especially with you being Indy, people was like, if you got access to the Colts or if you got access to the Pacers or even a Fever at this point. So how difficult it is like trying to attain those sponsorships.
Yeah. So I don't do much selling per se.
Okay.
And my boss probably joke about it, but it almost seems like I try to run away from it. But when it comes to selling, I think what helps us, and it can be a challenge, but bringing on corporate partners, what helps us and fans is that in the state of Indiana, we are the highest level of professional soccer. That's your chance. But this is your chance right here. This is your team. This is Indiana's team. And you get it right here in Indiana. So what also helps is, we've got a community full of sports, and they're all different. You've got so much variety. And with youth nowadays, you see youth soccer just taking off, and that can go back to all of our youth partners as well. But youth soccer is taking off. So it's starting, like from the ground up. Like the kids are young, connecting to the families, connecting to the community, and things like that. But it's also not only where we are and being, the highest level of soccer here in the state of Indiana, being the only professional soccer team in Indianapolis, where sports is a huge hub for it, but also where we're going. So we've been around for not too long, but our owner has huge visions, and as we all do, we're working towards 11 Park, so opening up our own stadium and putting the shovels in the dirt to that. So that's going to be huge. Having an actual home as well helps too. So there's huge plans, and in the future, maybe a women's soccer league or something like that. But there's, we've been here. We're the only ones here. We connect with the community and the youth, but then also where we see ourselves going. So I think that's also been a great benefit.
Yeah, with you said the future and build another team. And I was looking, it looks like you're part of the USL, the Impact Committee. So I kind of want to see why you're on that and what a little bit more insight of what that is for the people that are listening today.
Yeah, so the Impact Committee was just created. It was created and announced, I think it was January, but I serve on that with many other great people in our league. But basically what the Impact Committee does is serves as a liaison from the clubs to the league, and providing resources to each club and advice to the league based on those, like any feedback and things like that from each club on any issues. So whether it's, social justice issues, race and gender equality, things like that, we definitely want to tackle any social issues or situations that come up. We kind of huddle and talk about all of those things and provide advice to the league specifically, and then also surveying out to the clubs to see, like what's impacting the clubs the most, and how can the league help amplify the clubs and go on from there. But I definitely had an interest in serving on that because many different reasons, but the simple fact that, nothing's going to get better until you actually put the effort in and have somebody that's passionate about different things. And so with that, we've got different subcommittees on that. And I sit on the anti-racism subcommittee and the community engagement subcommittee, which two that I feel very strongly about and have manifested throughout my entire life. So those two subcommittees have been a huge part of what I do. We meet frequently, and we also just launched the United Against Racism campaign and Forever Proud campaign, both for LGBTQ plus communities and the BIPOC communities as well. So it's been huge, it's been great. We're still in the very beginning stages of everything. So kind of seeing, okay, what to what extent can we help, and what can we do, and what can't we do, and what advice should we give, and what should we be taking from the clubs. So it's still a learning process for us all, but having that group to kind of conform and come together with has been great in making change, but actually having the conversations, and all these different clubs having conversations within their communities and within their actual organization, and I think that's been great too.
No, I love that initiative. I need to do my research and go figure out and learn more about it. But it leads me to ask, how much or how big of a factor has like your race and you being a woman has impacted your career thus far?
Yeah. So I'm biracial, so I'm black and white, and that has been, I mean, my entire life. That comes with the struggles. That comes with
Hmm.
um, benefit struggles, whatever you want to call it. It's just a different way of seeing things. And so uh, throughout my career so far, I've just noticed a lot of different things. There's a lot of, and as a young kid, like maybe even being confused, but like the confusion and some people, like are hesitant to say things. And so it's really just navigating communication with coworkers or peers or whatever that is. But my race has impacted it a lot, a lot. That especially the decision when it came to the impact committee and forming that and applying to be a part of that impact committee. Um, it was like, okay, this is something that I can provide great insight on. Um, Being biracial and being a woman and being young in the league as well, working in the league. So I think that's those three factors right there. It's just been crazy, but it's also a blessing though, because um, just being able to shed some insight to people that don't understand what it's like, whether they're not a female, whether they're not biracial, whether they're not young, whatever that is just being able to have those conversations and to shed some type of insight, get their thought processes. Like not everybody's going to agree, but getting their thought processes, and then also taking that back, and when having conversations in our committee meetings with the impact committee, understanding, okay, here's some things that people are like saying or feeling or whatever that is, and this is how I can communicate it to fully embrace the entire club, because not every club is the same. All the markets are different, and you've got different people in the clubs with different perspectives and opinions on things. So being able to navigate and really understand and take that into consideration when having conversations that can affect all of the clubs in the league, and having conversations that can help and boost and provide resources to all the clubs in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, B.
No, I was just gonna say, going with that. Also, I know I was looking into it too. With that, with the Indie Black Millennials, a group that leadership group you're part of, is that kind of why you guys started into that from what you've been telling about your career and just helping each other into that? Is that where that kind of led into?
So Indie Black Millennials is completely separate from the Impact Committee and Indy 11. So when I first got here in Indianapolis, I didn't know anything. Like I didn't know anybody. And I didn't know what opportunities there were in terms of being engaged in the community and being involved with people and different places in the community. So when I got here, there were a couple, I got connected to a couple of fantastic women who have been so helpful in my career so far, every single day. I mean, just the other day, for example, but got connected to them and really just having conversations on what can I do in the community? Like where, I don't know where I belong. I don't know what opportunities there are. What's the most popular ones? What are the ones making the most impact in the community? So I actually, along with many other different things. So I'm I'm a big sister with Big Brothers Big Sisters. But Indie Black Millennials came about, and I actually saw Indie Black Millennials, like some of the branding. But then on LinkedIn, I saw that they were looking for an events co-chair, and I was like, hey, like event, that's me. I love those. So I reached out and I said, hey, I'm super interested in this, and got to talking to the founder of Indie Black Millennials, and he brought me on board, like literally on the board of Indie Black Millennials as the events co-chair with my fantastic co-chair partner, Tony Hart. He's great. So we've been planning events in the community totally outside of Indy 11 and the Impact Committee, but that was something that, really helped me understand a lot more and connect with people in our community. Just even being on calls with the board. So that was it. It's been great so far. We've hosted many events, virtual and in person, which has been great. And we've actually are planning a couple right now too. But it's more of like a social, like it's getting young Black community leaders together and networking and having conversations, and kind of helping relate and adapt to the community if you're new. So like myself, if you're new to the community, providing those opportunities for people to go to.
That's phenomenal. Um, so I would love to continue to keep talking, but we're going to transition to the next segment. It's the game is what we call the game within the game segment. It's a wraparound where we go ask you like kind of questions where it's either or, and just to get your response. So we have one of these days we're going to do a post of just our results so far, see what people has been voting. So my question for you, Madison, is: Are you ready to play?
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna start off with something simple. So, are you a chocolate chip cookie type person, or are you an oatmeal raisin?
Definitely chocolate chip cookie. The fluffy ones.
The fluffy ones.
The
Okay.
fluffy ones. They gotta be nice and fluffy.
Yeah, I'm kind of chocolate chip as well, but I could always go for an oatmeal raisin cookie as well.
I
I
like the
I
Subway ones. The Subway oatmeal raisins are pretty good. I
thank
don't
you.
really branch out. I don't. I mean, I don't. I I think those are probably the only ones that I eat if I ever eat an oatmeal raisin. But like,
Yeah.
if you're saying, "Ooh, here's a nice chocolate chip cookie that's just perfectly fluffed," and oh Lord, great.
Yeah. I definitely love and enjoy a good chocolate chip cookies, and I'm an oatmeal person. I prefer a nice little soft oatmeal cookie, like the ones from Subway, are a perfect example as a really good quality cookie. But I'm a I love a good oatmeal cookie, oatmeal raisin cookie. Even though I was just eating chocolate chip cookies earlier today, but don't.
Cheat, cheating on the oatmeal cookies already.
I
See,
know. I felt
crazy.
bad you saying that.
It's crazy, but it's also funny that you ask those questions because I'm actually huge like into baking. Like I love to bake. I haven't done it in a while because work has been crazy, but baking is like I love it. And I'll tell you a quick story. So once the pandemic was happening and stuff, uh, last year, probably around this time, honestly, my boyfriend and I we were bored and we were like, you know what? And we're all working from home, so it's like I'm home all the time. Well, you know what? Let's do a bake off. Like you make your own
Oh,
cookies, your own chocolate chip cookies, and I'll make my own
uh-huh.
chocolate chip cookies. So it got so serious to the point where I called up my coworker and friend who lives down the street, and I was like, and it was like 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, hey, are you up? Like, can we come over real quick? We need you to like test these cookies and see who's better. And so we did. And I mean, he won only because he put like nutmeg or something in his cookies, whatever, and some
Uh,
salt on the top of it. And whatever, I'm over it. But yeah, so that definitely chocolate chip cookies. Love baking.
okay. If if my cousin wasn't getting ready to move, I'll introduce it to him because he has his own bakery that he does down in Indy as well. But he's getting ready to
Really?
move. Yeah.
What's his bakery?
It's it's Joey's Soulful Sweets.
Joy Soulful Foods. Huh. Okay.
Yeah. So he's getting ready to move. So I don't know. Maybe I'll be able to try to link you guys together so you can get some cookies. So he's big into the LGBTQ community as well. So does a lot of stuff with Indie Pride and Juneteenth. So um
Amazing. Yeah.
yes.
Hey,
So,
yeah. Routine social. Yeah.
so B, go ahead.
Yeah. So next one is, you like TV shows or movies?
Ah, I would have to say movies, but only scary movies. Scary movies over TV shows.
What?
Yeah,
I think
I'm a big scary movie person.
that's my wife's niche. Now she likes other type of movies, but you give her a scary movie. She's not that she's really scared. It's just that she finds it funny.
I get like I actually get scared, and I'm like some scary movies though are like too much. Like they just did way too much, and it was very scary. Where like you gotta watch like SpongeBob or some cartoons or something afterwards. But
Yeah.
scary movies for sure. I do like TV shows. It's just sometimes it's just hard to find new ones. You don't want to
Mhm.
like waste your time. So it's like you see a trailer for a movie, and it's like okay, we can do this. So.
What's so I know you mentioned that you was big into basketball growing up. So what's your favorite basketball team?
Um, Professional by default. I mean, Fever.
Okay.
Right now we're having a rough start to the season, but
Yeah,
it's okay.
we whooped they won today though.
They won. They did win, which I was very happy to see. I didn't get to watch it though, but I'm going to the game on Tuesday, so
Okay.
fingers crossed. I think the big team on the West right now that I'm keeping up with only because we got a couple Notre Dame people on that team is the Phoenix Mercury. So
Okay.
been keeping up with them, but definitely with Fever. So with the Fever, we've got, and I'm very connected now to this team just because I played against her and she killed us in high school basketball. But Kaiser Ganasik just got signed to the Fever,
Yep.
and so very interested in, and I love watching her play only because I know how it feels to be on the opposite side.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Fever right now, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a like I didn't know much about her until she got drafted, but as I watched through some of her game and some of her highlights and stuff, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm kind of a fan of this chick. Like she cold
Yeah,
blooded.
it's insane too. I mean, I was just talking about it last night to a group of people, and I wasn't shutting up because I mean it's crazy. Like the talent today in women's basketball and professional basketball is insane. The
Hmm.
league definitely needs to be expanded, but it's exciting. I think this is going to be a huge turning point this year for women's basketball.
I think so too, and I know we're both me and Brady was looking forward to the lead expanding. I
Mhm.
know even one episodes we talked a little bit about the jerseys that we liked and so far for the year, and like one of jerseys that we love we both love was the Indies.
The Rebel jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Mhm.
Yeah. And speaking of those, the one that I wanted, Kaiser's, I think it sold out in like 22 minutes or something like that the first day. And I'm like, come on. So, but yeah, it's pretty dope. It's exciting. It's a super exciting year.
Yeah. So here's another question for you. So I know you own two dogs,
I do.
right? So,
This is gonna be my favorite question.
or not.
Anything about my dogs? Anything? Oh, or not? Okay. Here we go.
So, say you was in a situation where you had to get rid of one of your dogs, or one of your dogs had to find a new home. Which one has to find a new home?
Me. Like, they can keep the house. They can keep the house. I can't know, and I know if my boyfriend isn't there listening at all, he's going to tell you which dog I would choose. But I will never say it. So I cannot say that because that is a terrible dog mom of me if I said that. But my phone, I don't know. Oh, you can't see it, but my phone background has not been changed yet, and it is one of the dogs in that bowl.
Okay. No, I expect you to say that. I'm like, if she really truly loves her dog, she's gonna be like me. We have to find a new home.
I love my dogs. They're my babies. They are my babies.
So that basically wraps up our interview today, both portions of it. So where can the people who are listening or viewing this on YouTube when we post it, where can they find you and follow your career?
LinkedIn is a big one. So find me on LinkedIn, Madison Prillwitz. And what else? I don't really stay on Twitter or anything like that too much, but yeah, LinkedIn. You can definitely follow me in my career on LinkedIn.
All right, and for the people who are listening to us on YouTube or any Spotify or anything like that, you can find us at Capturing Game on Instagram at capturing_the_game_pod, or you can find us on Twitter at CTG_podcast, or you can search us on YouTube and Facebook at Capturing the Game Pod. Again, we'd like to thank you, Madison, for coming on and joining our podcast today.
Thank you guys so much.